Hello, Emanuel Shahaf.
Hello, hello.
Identity, the quest for Israel's better future. We are living in a very, very intriguing time regarding the Israel internal politics, which may put together Bennett and the right wings, Gideon Sa'ar, but also the support of Israeli Arab parties and left-wing parties, the Labour Party. What is the plan that you think can combine them all together after the little politics ends and people will have to start working and serving their country?
I think it's pretty clear from what has happened in the last few weeks that we cannot continue the way we have been running the show in the past, and we have to change the paradigm. And what we need is obviously something that can cut across left and right. We can't come up with a solution which is only good for the left or only good for the right. It has also to be acceptable to the Palestinians. And probably it will even be able to be dealt with by the incoming government, which should be a government of change. And that's a paradigmatic change of how we deal with the conflict. What we suggest is to federate the area between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean, not including the Gaza Strip.
To federate and not to separate.
Yes, to federate and not to separate, and split the country or divide the country administratively into 30 cantons, which all have their own autonomy, cultural autonomy and also governmental autonomy, like in many other federations all over the world, and work on this basis towards the end of the conflict.
When you're talking about ending this conflict, what will make it happen to end the conflict? Because you're saying not to separate Israel and the Palestinians, but to integrate them within one big Israel, one big country.
What will hopefully make it happen is the realization that it's better to do it together than to separate, and that the challenges of working together are easier dealt with than the challenges of separating. I think the Israeli Arab population can be of help because they have been living with us for 70 years, for good and for bad, and they know what is at stake, and the Palestinians have been living with us for 53 years, so they also know enough about Israel. But it's clear that I think the incoming government, or the likely incoming government, will have a special opportunity to change the paradigm, because this is a government which unites left and right in a unique way, and it has therefore the possibility to change the paradigm. Unlike a left government or a right government, which would not be in a position to do that.
And the two-state solution, you think that practically...
This two-state solution is practically not implementable, not at this time. Federating the whole area does not obviate the two-state solution. It still can be implemented at a later stage if that's desirable. But I think when working on the federation, both sides will realize that it's much better to run the country together than to separate it with all the expenses that are caused by doing that.
So no one will have to leave his home?
No, nobody will have to leave his
No, the
home.
settlers, neither the Arab...
Nobody will have to leave. Everybody gets citizenship, and there are a lot of challenges, of course, and we cannot just drop issues like the refugee problem, but there are rational solutions to all of these. Once we start working on this together, this will be possible.
And what you think is the main obstacle in order to implement this federation, the new identity for the Israeli future? Is like reinventing the country.
Yes, I think it's a major changing minds. that's the main issue. I think Israelis are, especially in the wake of what happened in the mixed cities, Israelis are very fearful of living together with the Arab population. Arabs are reluctant to live in a Jewish majority country, definitely the Palestinians. So changing the mind for both sides will be the most difficult. And we need good leadership to do that. Let's hope that in the new incoming government we'll find those leaders who view this aim of uniting the country instead of separating as worthy and work for it.
It's also uniting the country, but also creating an internal separation,
yes,
cultural cantons that each one living in its own home will find itself the way he wants to live.
Yes, that's the beauty of the system. It's together but separate, and this will be appreciated by many who want to live in their own separate cultural unit, and this will be made possible by the federation and by splitting the country into administrative units, affording this cultural autonomy and for everyone.
What do you think is going to be, according to your conversations and meeting, the perspective of the Palestinians in Jordania, Samaria? How would they
I think that
embrace this plan?
The Palestinian population will embrace it. The Palestinian leadership will have a hard time because they will have to change their paradigm also from two states going to no state, because or going to a state, one state together with Israel, which will be very difficult for them. But I think once they realize that their population is mostly in support, they'll come around. And if they don't, they'll be voted out.
And the other circle, the bigger circle of the Arab countries around us and far away, you were serving as in the Israeli Mossad, so you know the way they think.
I think the Arab world around us will be actually supportive of this kind of arrangement. First of all, it's a clear sign of Israel integrating into the area. We're not going to be some colonial outpost, some European colonial outpost. Once we federate, we'll be actually a Middle Eastern country, which will serve everybody. Will help economically to work together with the Arab countries in the area. They will be appreciative that there's no Palestinian state, which would cause a lot of unrest. So I think it'll be viewed by very much favorably.
Emanuel Shahaf, Identity, the book, the lecture, The Quest for Israel's Better Future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.